Okay, we good now? We have Councillor Oberdorfer on Zoom. Councillor McIver has sent regrets tonight. Deputy Mayor Valentino is in transit. Thank you. I'd like an approval of the agenda. Councillor Fitzpatrick, Councillor Lumber, all in favor? It's carried. Next, we'll go to community comments and feedback. I'd also like to acknowledge that City Manager Anthony McGuinness is ill tonight. Community comments and feedback. Come state your name, ask your question. Second time, community comments and feedback. Any comments? Third and final time, community comments. Thank you. Seeing none, we're going to go into reports. 5.1 is our CNP report.
Evening, Mayor and Council. For our detachment resources, not a whole lot has changed there. It's still a vacancy in the inspector role and the staff sergeant role. The inspector role has been posted on the job board, and I believe the staff sergeant role or job will be posted very soon. And we're still down 6 constables. And our municipal employee clerical staff is still short 4. Some of the crime trend reporting, our calls for service from this point last year is down. We are currently at 5,441 calls for service, when at this time last year we were at 5,936. Power theft files, there's been an increase of 18% there. Mischief, there's been a decrease of 29%. Break and enter, an increase of 24%. Assaults, aggravated assaults, assault with weapons, there's been a decrease there of 2.6%. Sexual assault, there's been a slight increase of 2.8%. Drug possession and drug trafficking, there's an increase of 47.8%. Now that also contributes to some proactive work that we've done. Impaired driving, there's been a decrease here. Motor vehicle collisions, there's been a decrease. Our public disorder calls for service, there's been a slight increase there, about 12%. Mental Health Act has been shown a decrease, and our total amount of prisoners have increased slightly from this time last year. Our PCR unit has assisted some schools here recently in the month of April. They went to R.D. Parker for a situation where a student was selling some cannabis. They followed up on that. They attended Wapanuck School for some, again, kids misbehaving there. And they followed up with teachers and principal. They attended the science fair at called Riverside. They got some feedback for the winner, and the winner goes on to Ottawa for that one. So they attended the daycare, the Tiny Treasure, to talk to some community helpers and provide some stickers for the kids here and showed off the police car. And they also presented some impaired driving presentation here to R.D. Parker with the simulation intoxicated goggles. That went off fairly well. Our new little addition to our community report here is we've added some proactive stuff, proactive stats. So some offender management crime reduction files. So we've created 2 offender management files in the month of April, where we did 12 curfew checks on offenders this month. High risk offender warrants executed was 1. Then a couple of search warrants here. 1 drug search warrant where we found a large amount of Canadian currency, drug paraphernalia, a ballistic vest, a helmet, pellet gun, and some other weapons seized. We had a firearms investigation, which resulted in a high-risk offender being remanded in custody and charges laid in relation to firearms and escaped lawful custody. We had a drug traffic stop where cocaine and some Canadian currency was also seized. And then just at the last page there for the origin reports for prisoners lodged. It's fairly much on par from last year for very outside communities other than Thompson.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? First of all,
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you for the report. I just want to understand this, the decreased call. So you have almost 9.1% decreased call compared to last year. What's that mean? Does that mean better or just something?
It means we've had less calls for service in general from this time.
Is that a good sign or bad sign?
Well, it depends on what the call for service is. There could be a number of variables there. If we have these decrease in calls for service overall, it means that theoretically the public needs less police service, but it just depends on what we have for severity of calls as well. So just a slight difference there. I don't think that there's much of a big difference for us to judge like where we're at on if it's better or worse.
Would it be weather is one of the factors too?
Say that again, sorry.
The
Weather is usually
because it's warmer this year, so people are more happy, I think. That's problem.
The weather usually contributes here. If it's warmer weather, there's definitely more calls for service in the policing realm, but usually when it's colder, there's less calls for service in my experience.
Thank you.
thank you. Councillor Lundmark.
Thank you for the report. I was wondering if the RCMP or whoever is the highest ranking right now is still attending the Community Safety and Wellbeing Strategy Committee meetings.
Currently, I'm the highest ranking member, and I would love to attend those. So if you set it up and give me a date and time, I'll be there.
Yeah, I just want to make sure someone's there because the previous inspector was the chair.
Yeah.
You don't want to lose that.
No, I'll be there. Whatever dates you have, and you set that up, I will be there.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Anthony was just in the process last week of starting to get something going on a regular basis again, so.
Okay, thanks.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing none, thank you for the report, appreciate it. 5.2 is public safety report, Sonia?
So the CSOs have returned from their training. They've now, for the month of April, they've done 6 shifts. Unfortunately, due to the condition of the CSO vehicles, at this time, they're doing a lot of foot patrols and bike patrols. They are also using the inspections truck in the evenings and later in the evenings when the weather's not that great. The RCMP, so they are still able to deal with the individuals downtown. They're still able to speak with them, kind of interact with them. If there are arrests that need to be made, they have communication with the RCMP, and the RCMP would attend and take the individual to the detachment. The citizens report's been made. There is a delay in the new vehicles that we're getting. I was able to get a seat to go into the back of one of the CSO cars that we have now. So we're hopefully going to have that here in Thompson by the end of this week or early of next. Once the mechanics are able to put that seat into one of the cars, they'll be able to interact with the public and be able to pick people up and bring them to the law variety center or lodge them at the detachment. They also, this is CSOs also attended the Knights of Columbus, and they security there during that event. There were no issues noted. They are currently still working 7 hours a day. We do change their schedule. It totally depends on what activities are taking place in the community. The taxi for license inspections, there was 2 requests from the RCMP for the license inspector to download the video and audio from 2 of the taxis. So our bylaw, property standards, the main focus, since the snow melted, well, should we write this because it snowed today and yesterday, but the main focus is doing inspections of properties. There are a lot of issues in a lot of the community, a lot of the different areas in town, and he's focusing a lot over in where the most of the calls comes from the east side area. So he's really focusing over there, trying to help that to get that under control. When there are instances where residents aren't complying and they're not cleaning up their property, notice is given to Public Works, and Public Works will go and clean it up when they have time. And then that then is billed to the homeowner, either billed or put onto the taxes. Animal control, we do have a new person in animal control right now. Corey has been with the city for a long time. He used to work at the rec center and he was really good on the radio. So he brought up that we were talking about a lot of animals that aren't licensed, and we know that we have a lot more than 152 dogs and 30 cats in the community. So Corey is going to contact CHTM, and we're going to do a Thompson Today interview with him to try to put up the importance of having your cat registered, reasons why you should, animal safety. So that's something that we're going to be looking into this month. So hopefully that'll bring our numbers up so people understand the importance of taking care of your pets. And our stats for our the bylaw, the property standards, they remain consistent. We're still getting roughly around 30 calls a month for just basic complaints about neighbors not doing things. So it's more or less those are just complaints and not ticket based. So, and then our screening officer appointments again are consistent, and I believe they're consistent with what we've had last year. We're roughly getting anywhere from 3 to 5 people who can test their tickets. And that's all I have for this report.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Councillor Chong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Director, my question to you is, what happened to the CSO vehicle? Are they unsafe to use or beyond repair?
The CSO vehicles, the 2 cars that we have right now, they're unsanitary. The officers that had their cars, they took care of them very, very well. We did bring them over and they were cleaned on a regular basis at a local establishment here, plus they cleaned them. But unfortunately, when we received the cars, they were clogged. And a lot of individuals, when you're putting people into the back seat, there's a lot of times they can't, I don't know how nice word to say it, but there's body fluids, there's vomit and a few things that got into the seats, which got into the foam of the seats. And when it gets warm outside, the vehicles you can't be in them. The smell is so bad, you cannot be in them.
So what is the alternative? Are you going to consider to buy different kind of vehicles so that you can transport, you can clean up easily?
Yes, we have 2 vehicles that are coming. They're Ford Explorers. They're currently at Seahawk in Winnipeg, and they're getting outfitted with all the stuff that they need, and they are getting the cages on them, the light bars, all the protective stuff that the CSOs need in them. They're just delayed at this point because they're waiting for certain parts to come in to be able to get them all put together. We were hoping that they were going to be here towards the end of this month, beginning of June, but we have to wait for that. So because we have to wait, I'm going to see if a seat only costs us a couple $100. So I'm going to see if we can get a seat to at least tie us over, because it's not just the seat, it's in the carpet, it's in the ceiling. So the smell is pretty bad, and the CSOs, they're really good, and they've tried to clean it as best they can, and you can only hang so many pine cone things in the vehicles for them. And they came to me this year and said we can't get them.
Okay,
It's a
thank you.
safety thing for them.
Anyone else? Councillor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Since we talk about public safety, I have a question about the all the pallet left behind from the maze on Crane Road. What are you guys going to do with that? Because summer is coming, and even the building across that land has been graffiti now. So, any action? I thought it's supposed to be temporarily. Once it's done, everything should be removed. It's still sitting there. So, any plan?
I will check with the organizer of that event. I believe it was they were supposed to be removing it. So I will check with them.
I already sent the picture to Anthony about a few weeks ago. So I still seen things still laying around. So that's why I'm asking this question today.
It's the first I've heard of it, so I definitely can get back with the organizer.
Anyways, please look into it because of safety concern to me. Because we have lots and lots of flammable material around that area. The kid walk by now, so I want to make sure that's all taken care of. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else? Thank you. I like the steps with animal control, getting them out there and doing that. And I know it's a budget item, but I definitely get like the up to 10 pictures a day of dogs on the loose, especially in the evenings. The minute we shut down at 4:30, everybody opens their doors. So I think down the line, we're gonna have to work on shift work or different days of working with animal control just to get a handle on some of this. And somebody's dropped a couple of very nice cats out of my cat pound again. They're just starting to dump animals. So
That's right.
but that's so.
Yeah, we do that every summer. Actually, we do switch up the animal control hours. So we normally do it a couple times a week and have it morning and evenings.
Okay,
So we'll be doing that again this year.
sounds good. Okay, and no other comments? Thanks for the report, Sonia. Next, we're going to 5.3, Thompson Fire and Emergency Services. Steve.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So we'll start off with the station report. Again, calls for service are still rising. So total unit on availability time for TFES at the end of April was a total of 406.63 hours. We have surpassed the total hours for 2023 being 405.75 hours. We're continuing to actively recruit for both career fire paramedics and auxiliary firefighters. We had one interview on May 15th, and I'm happy to report that he's accepted a position with TFES, and his start date with us is on June 10th. And we've also hired 3 additional auxiliary firefighters in the last month. Administration, along with Mayor Smoot, Deputy Mayor Valentino, Councilor Oberdorfer, met with Shared Health over a 2-day period. On May 6th and 7th, we've toured the Thompson Regional Airport, the Thompson Fire Emergency Service, TGH, as well as the Well Variety Center. The outcome of that 2-day event with Shared Health has been very, very encouraging, and looking forward to the next sit down with the Shared Health. Finally, Councilor Wong, I had your substance abuse calls. It took us a while to collect the data with MTCC and whatnot. So for the 4-month period, I'll total the total for each category. So for substance abuse, we had a total of 191 calls for service. Other substances, including alcohol, meth, crack, marijuana, Lysol, hand sanitizer, cocaine, and psilocybin, which is your mushrooms. We had a total of 43 calls for service over a 4-month period. We had 55 withdrawal calls. We had 18 overdoses. We had a 24 variety, which means it's been a substance of more than just one. And of course, the total for calls for service over the 4-month period, we had 331 calls. And that's the conclusion of my station report. Moving on to the month-end report. Fire responses for the current month, we had 147 responses, 3 general alarms. Year to date was 162 with 9 generals. Year to date, we're down, which is happy to report, down from 195, pardon me, which is a decrease of 16.9%. Ambulance responses for the month of April was a busy month, 767. Year to date was 2745. Year to date 2023, down slightly at 1.2% from 2781. Inspections and prevention, nothing to note on the re-inspections. That is a clerical error. We do know that we conducted some re-inspections for the month of April, and I'll have those numbers on the next report. Fire pit inspections and special permits. Again, we've had special thanks going out to one of the crews that have taken upon themselves to do a bunch of re-inspections as they're coming in, because we know the weather is getting nicer, the days are getting longer. So we understand that community members want to be able to burn in their backyards. So again, we had 16 re-inspections. Year to date was 31, year to date 2022 was 11, so we're up, not significantly, but we're definitely up, which is encouraging, because the members getting out to the community with respect to the importance of having a pit either re-inspected or a new installed. That's my report, Madam Mayor, thank you.
Thank you, and a good reminder to people getting into the fire pit season, please call, get your fire pit inspected or re-inspected. Especially right now, we don't have much for fires up here, but it could happen over the course of the summer. Thank you. Any other comments, questions? Comfortable?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Steve, for this special report for this. When I look at your report, the ambulance cost 767 for April. And I compare to the drug abuse and all that is about 52. So it's about close, not even, I mean, around less than 10% of the call at that time that you have to deal with that. So in your professional opinion, do you think it's significant for the time that you guys have to deal with all this?
I can't say,
Because 1 month is like 100 and some. I didn't have the February to compare at this moment, but some months look high.
true, and again, this is a new request from council with respect to the category of substance abuse calls, and after discussing with my deputy, it would only be beneficial if we captured all the various of different substances out there with respect to our drugs and whatnot, so it's definitely a good baseline. It'll be interesting to see what happens, in April 2025 with respect to comparing numbers. I was a little surprised to see the numbers creeping up there in the double digits and triple digits, but again, it's from our perspective right now, it's a baseline. Now that our senior comms officer knows what to capture, we'll be on top of this group.
Can I continue? I think it's a good thing to, at least now we can see the number, and now we can start realizing what really impact to your time when you guys have to respond to the serious thing. So yeah, like I said, just look further and see what will come up, and also I think the number will be good for us in the future if we need to lobby some sort of data to the government and use that as a number, right? Appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Lundmark.
Yeah, I'd like to just make a quick comment on that. Or to let everybody know if anybody does watch much of this, these videos on YouTube, but we have free wood salvage permits in Thompson to get rid of some of our dead standing wood between the city and the river. And we see what's happened in Fort Nelson and Fort Mac. I just encourage people to take advantage of that free permit for 2 weeks, and we'll cut as much dead standing as we can while it's still kind of wet out there. You give this a week and all of a sudden we can be walking on chips in the bush again. And the river is not wide enough to help us. And then please be cognizant of your children. I love that kids can go and play in the bush. And that's one of the great things about living in Northern Manitoba. They can go and explore, find new things out there. But please make sure they're not lighting fires back there. You don't need any more work for our fire.
Actually, to further add to that, Councilor Lundmark, thank you. At the mayor's meeting this morning, I had mentioned the fact that us along with the RCMP, and again, thank you, Dave. I spoke with Rob Cleveland, and our schedules are aligning with respect to blitzing all the elementary schools over the next week and a half, with respect to the importance and consequences of actually lighting fires within the community is bad enough. And of course, the enforcement side would be, that children over the age of 12 and over can actually be charged with ours. So again, we'll be blitzing those schools just before they get out for summer as a gentle reminder. Not what to do.
Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Wong.
I just remember anybody wanted to speak first? You want to go? No, go ahead. Okay, I just want to add one more thing, Chief. Remember that the fire across the street from me? Yeah. Remember the education, we need to put it out about dryer? Yeah. I think that one is very important. A lot of fire caused by dryer. That part need to be, a lot of people don't pay attention to that, but That's one of the biggest contribution to the fire. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, seeing none, thank you very much for the report. 5.4 is the Boreal Discovery quarterly report. I assume this is for information. First, Lyle.
Yeah, so good evening. Yeah, as per the controlled entities, these are the quarterly reports. So the Boreal Discovery Center has provided their quarterly report for information. If there are questions, you can pass them along to Tammy to pass along to the Boreal Discovery.
Thank you. And I do recommend that we read these reports and get sort of a handle on them, because it will be part of our budget process next week when we're giving money to the different entities. Next, finance. 6.1 is a review of the April check registers. Lynn?
I believe you missed 5.5.
Yes, this is the library.
Library.
Oh, 5.5 was library report. I sort of assumed this. I'm sorry.
Same thing, yeah, so same thing, the Thompson Public Library provides their quarterly report, as per the control entity. So please review the report if there are questions, and pass them on to Tammy for forwarding on to that report.
Thank you. And again, read it straightforward next week. 6.1 review of the April check registers. Lynn, sorry.
Thank you. Okay, the check registers are before you. The checks issued in April total $1,329,687.20. The payroll for April, for the April 5th, bi-weekly payroll was $259,960. For April 19th, it was $257,472.25. We did have one final pay that was issued to one of our staff who left, April 24th for $1,988.51. And the council indemnities totaled $8,315.38. The total amount spent through this check register was $1,857,434.94. Attached to that is the first page. I have a spreadsheet indicating the number of checks that were issued that exceeded $10,000, and the reasons for those checks is listed beside it. We did have one check that was canceled for the Thompson Zoo. In my rush to make sure everything was on time, I issued that one too early, so we canceled it. Can answer any questions that happen with the rest of the register.
Okay. Councilor Wall.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I want to go back to the hydro again. It looks like $150,000 last month. And the month before is like I don't see that. I know we have to pay for those street light and all that. I know that. That's why we entered the program to have all the change to LED. Hopefully it saves some money from there. But looks like it's going crazy now. It's like we talk about over $1 million a year. Let's say this is the standard. I never seen that high before. It's just like that's why it strikes my eye every time I see this. But after 8 years, I never seen that high. Something wrong? I just don't know.
The hydro rates have gone up. I know mine at the campground have gone up considerably.
But not like this job.
Just go double. And then we can check into it for you, get back to you. And just see what, if there's anything that jumps out.
Will it be some meter that we don't even own it, but it's under our name?
Pardon? No. No, we don't.
The meters that were being billed for, everything is under the contract with the bill, and they're double checked on every time we make the check. So it's that's good, but I do notice that the hydro for our buildings, which are aging, seems to be a lot higher than it was in previous years, but I haven't really had a chance to do a formal analysis.
Maybe using the propane better, you will pay the carbon tax. Anyway, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else? Questions on the check registers? Thank you very much, Lynn. Thank you. 6.2 is a memo from the Chief Financial Officer in regards to a letter received from Thompson, Dorfman, Sweatman regarding their clients in tax sale. Then,
Yes, this affects 4 different apartment buildings within the city of Thompson. And the owner of the blocks has arranged a secured loan to redeem the properties for tax sale, but they, through their legal counsel, are requesting the council consider relief in the amount of penalties and costs that have been added over the last 2 years to those roles, primarily because they've done large renovations to the blocks to make them livable again. I told them that was something that I could do to agree to, that it would have to come before the council for discussion.
thank you. Comments? Councilor Wong.
Thank you, madam. What's the amount we're talking about?
Right now, they've been paying about $2,800 every month on the floor bills for the penalties on the arrears.
Just the rear and penalty.
Yeah.
What are the principles we're talking about?
For all of them,
Based on this,
for the tax sale amount, it's close to 300,000.
I personally think the lawyer didn't do the study anyways. Thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Sandra. Councilor Oberdorfer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I was just going to ask if we could table this for the next committee of the whole. I know in the memo, it states that there was an attachment, a confidential attachment with the breakdown of penalties owing, but it isn't attached for us to review. So I would like to be able to review all of the information if that's possible. Thank you.
Did you want to make a motion to table it?
Yes, I'll make a motion to table it to the next committee of the whole. So we can
Is there-
have the missing information from the package. Thanks.
Motion to table this by Councilor Oberdorfer, seconded by Councilor Fitzpatrick. All those in favor? Okay, motion to table till next committee of the whole meeting. Is that going to be an issue with time sensitive?
They could pay, in order to redeem their property, they have to pay everything, and then the council can make a decision afterwards and refund the money. Just like the later.
Okay. It will be. June 3rd. Thank you, Councilor Oberdorfer. Next, we'll go into developments. 7.1 is a member from Director of Development and Technical Services in regards to contract change orders for road renewal design and resident services. Wow.
Yes, good evening. So back in 2022, council approved RFP number 10322, which was to give the road renewal design contract to AECom. The scope of the work for that project had a couple of main clauses. One is that all of the 26 roads are going to be mill and fill with one construction, that being Hayes Road. Resident services every year was 45 construction days, and then they would employ a local position for the summer student. As in the past, things have been identified through their evaluation, and they've provided two change orders. So I'm going to deal with them individually. Change order number 5 relates to construction days. So as I mentioned earlier, when we originally tendered this, we had said there would be 45 construction days per season based on a mill and fill design. Unfortunately, when AECOM come up and did their original geotech and their boring assessments, mill and fill was not the construction method of choice for many of the roads, and we'd have to do a reconstruction. What a reconstruction does is it lengthens your construction days. So what we did is we actually approved the 2022 project season to go up to 80 construction days. They finished the 2022 work, but they needed an additional 8 days. 4 of which were for the contractor, and 4 of which were for AECOM to conduct additional work. So that's a total of 8 days. So they are seeking a change order for the value of $54,000, sorry, not that, $36,000 to cover those 8 days, of which $14,000 will be offset by liquidated damages for Maple Leafs. It's a penalty to Maple Leaf. Anybody that does contracts realize that if you go over your construction days, there's a liquidated damages charge. So for the 4 days over, that was Maple Leafs charge, that's $14,000. So the 36 would be offset by 14,000 that we've already deducted from Maple Leafs.
So you're actually looking for 22,000.
We're looking for 22,000. That's change order 5. Change order number 6 comes back to that original mill and fill. When they looked at the assessments of the roads, they did the boring, they did core samples of the ground. They looked at it, and mill and fill was not, basically mill and fill wouldn't get us anywhere. We full reconstruction or near full reconstruction was required on a number of the roads. So the impact of that on the 2024 and 2025 package basically required that 3 of the 7 roads in 2024 needs full reconstruction, and 6 of 8 for 2025 need full reconstruction, which means more design time, more engineering time, and all of that. So change order number 6 is to cover the engineering and design time for the guys to re-engineer and redesign those roads from a mill and fill to reconstruction. And that's for a total of $54,000. So the sum of the two change orders is $90,500 offset by 14 and top down, we bring it to 76. So we've done change orders like this in the past. If you recall a couple, probably last year, we had one around the design timing for the 2023 package, and this will be something going forward. Again, when the project was bid, the conditions of the road were somewhat unknown when the original ISEP scope was built. And again, we don't want to put good pavement on bad base. So we want to make sure these roads stand up to time. That's why we need the engineering. Look for recommendation, take this forward to next week's for resolution.
And the dollars for this will be coming from where?
From ISEP. Yeah, it'll come out of the ISEP budget. Yep. And so I believe at the bottom line, I said that of the $90,000, the total cost of the city, because we pay 16.67%, the total cost is $15,000.
Just wanted the public to hear that. Thank you. Okay, Councillor Lundmark.
With the change order, those numbers are in line, so the 14,000 that we received from
LD for Maple Leaf. Yeah.
That's max, it's all they get for 4 days, right? One people know that too. And then the changes for change order number 6, is that in line with original proposal dollars that we paid for each engineer for the hours that they do? So
Yeah,
it's following that.
It's following the same rate schedule.
Yeah, okay, I'm just checking. And we can't change that, there's nothing, it's because there was something missed in the beginning.
Yeah, it was never bid to, we bid it all as a mill and overlay,
Yeah.
right?
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Councillor Chong.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The question about for the 8 days for CO5, $4,542.07. How this number come from?
That's their rate schedule that was approved as part of the original contract. So when they provided us their rate schedule, their original contract, their daily rate was that number we just quoted, $4,542.77. So that includes everything. That includes meals, boarding, rental vehicles, travel, everything like that, they provide us with a daily rate, and that's what's in the schedule.
For one person?
For what, no, that's for multiples, this covers their crews, there's 2 people.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Councilor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Just a question about this recommendation by the engineer. I'm not an engineer. I don't know what they're talking about, but when they bring it to you to say, hey, we need to no longer mill and fill. Did they give you why? Did you explain to you step by step? How is the ground look like? Why is it no longer? Are you satisfied with that?
I am, the reason.
Can you
being
explain
is
to
when
me
you-
just briefly why you satisfied, why?
Yeah.
Thank you.
So, before we tendered this, we assumed that there was at least 50 mils of asphalt on the roadway. So you do at least 50 mil. If you're doing a mill and overlay, you'll take typically half of that amount off. You'll leave the bottom amount as your base of asphalt and lay another layer over top. We had no core data. We don't have a core. We don't do road coring. They brought up a coring machine that did course through all of the roads that we had packaged. The full profiles, in many cases, the asphalt was less than 50 mils. Some cases it was as low as 35 mil of asphalt, some of it was 55. So if you're milling a 35 mil asphalt, you can't take anything off the top to get a bottom base and put another layer on top. It's just not enough. And the base work underneath was poor in some areas. So that's what the decision was. We looked at every pour that was taken through the path. Plus, the curbing in a lot of areas was shot, drainage was an issue. Drainage related base, so by peeling out all the asphalt, you're able to then re-slope the base and get it into a condition where it properly drains, and then you put depending on the roadway, 50 or 100 mil of asphalt in the top.
Okay. So you're talking about the asphalt perspective. But what I'm saying, when you say reconstruction.
Yeah.
That means they gotta dig down a couple of feet and replace all the material underneath or not.
No, typically what they'll do is they'll take the entire layer of asphalt off. So what they'll do, last year they brought a machine up, that we hadn't seen up here before, it was called reclaim, and then basically what reclaim does is it took it all the top asphalt layer off. It then gives them that chipped up asphalt material to be able to pack and layer as base. If they had to take it out, they would, but we did not dig out any base material like they did on St. Thompson Drive here in front of the dollar store there, 2017, 2018, when they took all that out. We're not doing that extensive.
So that means they're not touching the base.
They will clean it up where they have to, Counselor, to get the proper drainage and the proper slopes on them.
So based on your explanation, that means all they have to do is just top out the different with the asphalt, right? They're just touching the asphalt, whatever less, they just have to make it the 50 mm to.
They are adding base where needed, if they have to. They'll either add the ground up material that they've taken off the road, or they'll actually bring an extra base to bring the road up in areas if they have to. If there's a slump or dip or something like that,
Of course.
they'll do that up to get your drainage. You're not gonna put extra asphalt to account for a dip in the base.
So pretty much this reconstruction means just the asphalt part, not the
Asphalt,
base, unless the base need to be touched up.
unless the base needs to be touched on.
Because I worry about the base has been packed for 50 over years. The
Yeah,
base
they're
is
not-
good, the road is same,
They're not taking the base out.
because I don't think anything changes, the road is the same way, they just have to do the surface. So that's why I try to make sure that.
Yeah.
We're on the same page what you're talking
It
about.
allows them to re-crown the base work as well, so we're upping our crown standard at 3%. Typically in the past it was 2%. With climate change and things like that, we're now going on a 3% crown to add assisted drainage, so the water will shed off the road quicker. And in areas where we're doing construction, we're also putting in concrete curb and gutter. So if you go on some of the streets, for example, Cree Road, you'll see it's not only a concrete curb, but it's also a gutter concrete as well, which allows the water to bring in down the concrete, not the asphalt. Water sitting on asphalt is not the greatest. If it's into the curb, it's not as damageful to the road. One word. Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So this is tape, right?
What's that?
This is tape, right? Now what we say, right?
Yeah.
Good. Appreciate that because people will ask the question. So you explained very good. So let the people understand this process rather than guessing.
Okay.
So appreciate that. Thank you.
You've explained it.
Thank you, your explanation. Whether accept or not, but at least you did. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Oberdorfer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My question was just about the additional days, the change order number 5. I just wanted to understand, was that I guess just in terms of the extension of days, was that at our request, or was it that they didn't I guess put in enough work days in their initial schedule when they bid on the project?
So how construction days work is, when we originally bid to AECom, we said 45 days a year. AECom looks at the work packages, and now since we've had to change it to a reconstruction or partial reconstruction, if we want to call it that, Councilor Wong, it extends the work days. So 80 days was, sorry, 85, it was 80. Sorry, 80 days was the plan for last year. Through no effect of our own, it took Maple Leaf 84. So that's why they're penalized, and they're penalized through what's called liquidated damages. So any day that they go after 80, they have to pay, or we deduct dollars from their final pay. Those were the 4 days, and then the additional 4 days, there were 2 rain days, which don't account for LD against the contractor, but AECom still worked that day. They did layouts, they did documentation in the office, things like that. And the other 2 days, again, same thing, they did AECom did field work, layouts, flashing curves, whatever was needed to stay ahead of the Maple Leaf crews during those other things.
Thank you for clarifying.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, thank you all. Law 7.2 is a memo from the Director of Development and Technical Services regarding the tabulation of prices for road renewal work. Hello.
So just confirm the last one's gonna go forward next week for resolution. Yeah.
Okay,
The last one's gonna go forward for resolution next week.
yeah, are we okay to bring the resolution?
Yeah.
Special hands? Yeah, you win. And 7.2.
Okay, so now we're gonna switch, the traffic, and let's switch lanes now. We're gonna go from the designer, AECom, to the actual contractor doing the work. So we tendered the 2024-2025 package, in earlier this year. It closed last week, closed on May the 14th. We had two bids submitted. One was for Maple Leaf Construction and the other one was from Nelson River. The prices are in your package. The bids have been reviewed by both City of Thompson as well as our design engineer AECom. Both bids met the requirements for submission. And therefore we are looking forward to award the 2024-2025 renewal to Maple Leaf Construction for a value of $18,993,994.55. So, Councilor Wong, I know in the past we talked about multi-year, so we have talked about, we are actually, this is a multi-year, so we're doing 2024 and 2025 in one package. So we are now going to, with this, basically award them 7 streets or 8 streets that will get conducted over the next 2 years.
Thank you. Comments, questions? Councilor Fitzpatrick.
Thank you, Mayor. With this contract, does that also include the work that didn't get completed from last year?
That work has already been awarded. That will be the primary work that gets done before anything else gets done.
Yes.
Anyone else? Councilor Wong?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. How's the money now? Are we good, or are we gonna be short, or we will be surplus?
We're getting closer to the end now, and that's where we're gonna have to start looking. So I know our group always looks at opportunities to cost save where we have to. I believe, I don't have it. I was doing it, I apologize, I don't think I had it done before the meeting tonight, Counselor. I was actually reviewing total contracted value versus work awarded. And I believe it's about 5 to 7% higher on cost than work awarded. So we will have to watch how we move forward and how we progress. We are seeing some cost savings. When the projects are priced, we price to somewhat the unknown. So, because we haven't pulled up all the road and know exactly how much base we have to bring in, or if we have to replace a catch basin, we have a contractor's price for, I wouldn't say a worst case scenario, but near worst case scenario. So we actually will add, 20% of the fill volume. We'll add them to ask to quote on 20% fill, so we have it if we need it. We will ask them to replace it at a certain percentage of catch basins. So we have the pricing. We may or may not need them at the end of the day. Likewise with the risers and the grading and the flybys. So we have that little bit of contingency. So the 2022, and I apologize to know the exact number in front of me, the 2022 project, which was they finished up all the work last year. I believe we came in about, I want to say 1.1 or 1.2 million dollars underneath what was awarded value. Because again, we had them priced for things in a worst case scenario. So instead of having to do a change order and try and get pricing, they priced them in their bid contracts. We had it if we needed. So that was like fill and the extra concrete and extra risers and extra catch basins. That when we went out and did inspections, no, we don't need it. That's fine. We'll leave it in place. So, like I said, 2022 project that I think it was 1.2 million. So I say the total contracted value. As we get closer to the end, I've got to actually see what the actual value of those contracts are to know where we're going to be at the end. Right now, work to spend, we are overspent for the amount of work awarded. But I'm hoping that those numbers are going to start coming closer, especially after we get the 2023 package finished this year with Juniper and Thompson driver. But it is something we are actively monitoring.
Thank you. The reason I'm asking because I worry about, because a lot of time we end up with ditch out money.
Yeah.
To pay for the extra service or extra thing they found.
Yeah.
So I believe the original plan that we submit for the $40 million is for 17 kilometers.
20 kilometers.
20? Oh. So are we come close?
I will look to complete my evaluation, have it for my report at early June. For what's awarded versus contracted now, but again, Councillor, and I see Councilor Mark Chapin said from his project experience, as projects start to wind down and you start to realize the cost savings on them and see what you actually totally spend versus contracted value, we won't know until we get closer. So once we get 2023 under our belts and see where that stands, we'll know where we are going forward. But yeah, no, our goal is still 20 kilometers before we can.
Thank you. We'll be proactive, that's all.
Absolutely.
Councillor Lenore? Comment?
No, I was just, saying he's answering me with things that I'd be saying very similar. Thanks, Lau.
Thank you. Councillor Oberdorfer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just had a question regarding the construction schedule for this season. Is there any, I know the last couple of years, it seems like there's been issues with them completing in time. Is there any concern with that coming into this construction season and I guess the proposal that they put forward? And in terms of their ability to finish on time, has there been any or was there any consideration for that through the evaluation phase? Thank you.
That was not considered during the evaluation phase. We know that they lapsed over on Juniper and Thompson Drive last year. Some of it was due to availability of materials and others. I don't really have an answer for that question yet, Councillor, because we haven't awarded it, so I haven't seen their schedule. So I really can't state, if they are working a 10-4 schedule like last year and they start in early June and bring up, again, the other thing is resourcing. If they bring up multiple crews to be able to do both Thompson Drive, Juniper, and say Westwood at the same time, that of course will speed things up. But until we award it and we're able to see a schedule, I really can't provide a full answer.
Did you have a further question, Councillor Oberdorfer?
Yeah, thank you. I just had a follow-up to that. Okay, so just to clarify, through the tendering process, we didn't require them to provide that information, so we won't know. We don't have the ability to know further until we award it. Okay. And did we have any stipulations in the RFP, I guess, regarding how much staff they had to have, that kind of thing, or those will be conversations I guess we'll have with our concerns regarding prior year schedules?
That's typically, that's up to them to state. We say that you've got X amount of days to do the work. However, they want to staff it and complement it, that's up to them. But the same clause exists with liquidated damages. So if they go over the total number of construction days, there is a liquidated damages penalty assessed.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, so we're looking for a motion to bring this forward to council on a Monday night. All show of hands, all in favor? Carried. 7.3 is a memo from the Director of Development and Technical Services regarding the land lease agreement for 19 Nelson Road. File.
Yep, so we have a land lease application that's been submitted to the Chief Building Inspector and myself from McMunn Needs. This is for the property at 19 Nelson Road. With the construction of the new McMunn looking to start soon, they are in need of surplus space to store building materials to permit the construction on their site. So they've come to us and requested a 3-year lease of this property to allow them to store building materials. They've also requested a couple of things. It'll start with a 3-year lease with the potential of increasing that lease or buying. They've also asked for the right of first refusal if we do get somebody coming forward to buy. That's typically something we don't put in a land lease, but through discussion with them, we understand their situation. The chief building inspector and I have looked at it from a zoning perspective. Well, the zone isn't zoned for kind of storage per se. There is a clause in the zoning bylaw, and I've included in the memo. It's 4.4.5. Basically, the quote says, "Nothing in this bylaw shall be deemed to prohibit the use of part of the building site in storage or building supplies or equipment during a reasonable period of time required for the construction of a building or buildings on a building site, provided that permission be first obtained from council or its designated officer to use such site for storage purposes." So the other factor is for this property, there is no curb cut, no access to Nelson Road. If you drive by right now, there's a full curb across the front of the property, so they will require a curb cut. So I'm asking that this be brought forward, or be considered to be brought forward to next week's council meeting for resolution with a couple of conditions. One is that we would allow it to include, we would do it for a period of 3 years. We would include a right of first refusal, and we would not put the land lease into effect until we get a curb cut. Proper curb cut into the property, because they can't use it until they can get into it. So that's my request with the land lease.
Thank you. Any questions? Councilor Wong.
Thank you. I think the reason they don't have a curb cut because of that land being always occupied by people. So when the reconstruction, the Nelson Road, they thought that is part of the land. So I think putting the condition, I'm not big fan of the condition because of the reason behind it. So I don't want to jeopardize them to make that as a condition. But other than that, I think I'm okay with that. It just that curb cut is that was the main reason.
We'll put the curb cut in ourselves. Like it's something that we the city would take care of. It's something that typically is done for these properties.
Also, you mean when you do that is we have to do that for them? It's not they have to. Okay, sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, so
I think I'm okay with that.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Fitzpatrick.
Yeah, I'm in favor of this, we gotta help them out, I think, to, get their building built up, and, if they wanted to buy that land later on, which good possibility, I think it's. It'll work well for the city.
Counselor Oberdorfer?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Yeah, I'm in favor of this. I just had a question regarding which lot it is. I know there was a small map included in the memo, but it's hard to tell kind of where that lot is on the street. So if I could just get clarification on that, but otherwise I don't have any concerns. Thank you.
I can send a fuller map around, but essentially it's, I believe on the one side is the one-stop park shop, and then on the other side is the Dave Barrett's.
The
that's their
government building.
office,
Yeah.
Government office.
The government.
So it's kind of that tree lot in the middle, across from,
The old
the
A&W.
old A&W.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Yeah, I definitely think it's, and especially with the way you're building and the way Thompson's gonna be over the next couple of years, I'd be surprised if they give it up down the line, so. With that being said, who's in favor of moving this forward to council? It's carried. That's just recreation. 8.1 is a memo from the Director of Recreation and Community Service in regards to relocating racquetball grant funds. Sonia?
We received a grant a couple of years in 2022 from the Thompson Community Foundation to upgrade the space just off of the Bill Kanansky Wellness Center and convert that into a racquetball court. We did bring it to council in January of 2024. We put it out for a tender, and the tender came in substantially higher than what we had anticipated at the time. Administration was given the task to look for further grants to check with the Thompson Community Foundation to see if they would consider us to extend our timelines and use that funds, or to see if there's additional funds. I did have a conversation with the Thompson Community Foundation president. They were not interested in us moving forward with the racquetball court at that time. They had no additional funds to give us to move forward with that. That being said, they did not want us to return the funds. They did want us to use it, and they wanted they had a meeting coming up and they needed a decision right away of what to do with that. I did mention to them that we were looking at creating another play area in the TRCC lobby. They liked that idea. They brought it forth, and they came back and told us that we could use that $43,000 to erect a play area in the lobby of the TRCC. So we are anticipating hopefully to remove that the large play structure hopefully in the coming months, and we can have this new area located in the lobby area. Hopefully this summer we should have it all up and running. I'm hoping by end of July, towards mid August, to have it up and ready for the kids to use when hockey season opens back up.
Thank you. I guess for me, my biggest concern is that this money was asked for racquetball funds, and that it was also part of the budget process when we were putting money into it, and that the whole face was changed, was actually out, not coming back to budget or council to discuss, the changes. A playground is different from racquetball. Courts would have hit sort of a higher age group, and the playground is small, so I guess that's just one of my concerns, that it didn't come back to mayor and council for some consideration. Other comments? Councilor Oberdorfer.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just had a question, I guess, regarding the play structure in the lobby. As far as I knew, we hadn't approved anything, or nothing has come forward to us yet to review. I'm definitely in favor, and I think that we do need some type of play structure for young children in the TRCC. But given that the previous council decided to remove the existing play structure due to concerns with cleaning it and whatever the other reasons were, I think we should have a chance to have a conversation about that and ensure that it is a feasible plan going forward, and that we are going to be able to have the staff to clean it and maintain it. So I'm definitely in favor of us having play equipment in there. I just want to make sure that we have an opportunity, like I said, to comment on that and ensure that it's a sound plan. So thank you.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, what are you asking with,
It was just a recommendation bringing forth to council, because back in January, we were advised that if we couldn't find the money, we had until the end of this year. To find money for the racquetball, and if the Thompson Community Foundation didn't want to move forward, we would have to do something different. So they needed an answer right away because they were going back. So this was the only thing that we had already discussed about doing something in the TRCC lobby. So that was just brought forward and put to them, and they were in agreement to do it. So if council would like us to move forward with that, we can. If council would like us to do something different with that, we can do that as well. We would just have to advise the Thompson Community Foundation.
thank you, Councilor Wall?
When I read your memo, Sonia, those are the structure you propose to add into it with the $43,000.
Yeah.
The last paragraph.
Correct, yeah. That was just a couple of things that we did pick out. They cost somewhere around $15,000 for 2 pieces. And then it would be the construction of the partition around it, plus flooring, and the railing and everything. So we might have some additional funding left, and if we do, and we have space in that area, we can put additional structure toys in there. And the toys are made so that they're easy to clean, safe for the children to use, and they will be structured into the floor, so they're not high toys, I guess, they're not hard for staff to clean.
I think sorry, Mary, I think the real question is like what I hear from the floor here tonight is just like we didn't have the input to this kind of structure, what we want, right? So what we can pick. So to me, it doesn't matter as long as for a kid, I don't have to clean it, I'm okay, you know. Other than that, I think basically that's what the message I heard. So thank you, Mary.
Is there any drawings of what this would look like? Some of my concerns are when we have our tournaments, when we have the hockey, everything that you know, that TRCC concession area is already jam-packed with people in that. And is it going to cause, you know, the egresses for people moving around and that? I guess it's one of my concerns there too. So we'll go to Councilor Oberdorfer next.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just wanted to clarify that I am in favor of reallocating the funds if that's what's being recommended by administration. But again, I would just like to have an opportunity to review those plans, but I am in favor of reallocating the money if that's what's required. Thank you.
Councilor Lumber.
Yeah, I'd support reallocating the funds, especially if it's for the children, as long as it's in a place where it's safe, it's not gonna prevent any movement when there's a situation, emergency situation. And I still don't want to give up on the idea of racquetball court, but if we come up with better numbers where we can try and go for funding again, it's not like it's dead, right? Just have to ensure that we have the funding in place before we try and go at that again. But yeah, I'd still like to see what is going to be made out of it.
Thank you.
Yeah, so absolutely. I mean, we can incorporate into our budget meetings next week if you like, and I'm just waiting to try to work with the carpenters. I've not been successful tying them down because they're so small. So we can come up with a plan and bring some designs of some different play structure items that you would like to put in, or if that's where we want to go with that, we can add that into the budget meetings that you would like. And regarding the racquetball, you're correct. At least we have a plan. We know now what it's going to cost. So I'm going to continue to look for grants for the future to try to see if we can get that racquetball back up.
Thank you. I'm sure people wanted to hear that.
Anyone else? Okay, so thank you for the information, maybe a picture of where things are going and that we appreciate. 9 proclamations. So this is a proclamation for May 29th, 2024, as Red Shirt Day of Action for Inclusion and Accessibility. Whereas all Canadians have the right to take part fully in aspects of society, and whereas Manitobans with disabilities reflect the diversity of the population as a whole in terms of age, gender, race, religion, ethnocultural communities, and political perspectives, while members of both First Nations and Métis communities are at least twice as likely as non-Indigenous people to have a disability. And whereas advancing accessibility and inclusion is about creating barrier-free communities, workplaces, and services for all Canadians, and which is especially important to more than 8 million Canadians aged 15 and over who have a disability, and the more than 175,000 Manitobans who have a disability. And whereas every Manitoba can take action to improve accessibility and inclusion by taking concrete action to break down barriers to full and equal participation. And whereas the city of Thompson acknowledges and appreciates the importance of inclusion and accessibility to the citizens and the well-being of the prosperity of its community. Therefore, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of Thompson, I hereby proclaim May 29th, 2024 as Red Shirt Day of Action for Inclusion and Accessibility in the city of Thompson, and I encourage all citizens to pledge their commitment to actively help create a fully accessible and inclusive society. Mayor Colleen Smith. Dated this day, May 21st, 2024. Thank you, folks. Let's please follow that. Just a couple things I would like to mention tonight. A special mention goes out to R.D. Parker Principal Bonnie Rempel, who is retiring this year, and spent this cold, snowy weekend baking big trays of cookies for our Thompson Fire and Emergency Services and the RCMP department. So thank you to Bonnie, and you will definitely be missed on your retirement. I'd also like to acknowledge we did pass a proclamation a couple weeks ago that this is Public Works Week in Thompson. So on Saturday from 1 to 4, there's going to be activities for the community to engage in. Please make sure you join us all there. And so as weather like today, you're not sure if you're doing potholes or plowing snow. So let's give a big thank you to our public works when you're running to them. With that, I'd like to call for adjournment. Councillor Fitzpatrick, Councillor Wong, all in favor? Meeting is adjourned.